Hey everyone, so I like to use this social media website called Twitter. You may have heard of it. I have kind of an unhealthy obsession with Twitter, which by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back because I'm just such a nice guy, not because I'm desperate for followers. That's definitely not the reason. But it seems like every day on Twitter, I'll come across a video of influencers partying in Los Angeles. You know those TikTok kids who lip sync for a living and think that they can go partying without wearing a mask or social distancing because apparently the rules don't apply to them. And of course, they decide to throw parties during a global pandemic which has killed over 150,000 people in the United States. And these people will receive public shame and backlash literally every single day, but they've still faced no repercussions. They keep doing the same thing every day, and I don't really see an end in sight. And this really got me thinking. You have a lot of these college-age influencers who aren't in college because they're too busy pursuing a career in lip syncing. So if you have these people who are college-aged, but they're not actually in college partying, what about the people who are going to be in college? Of course they're gonna party as well. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about colleges reopening and the inevitable fact that college students will throw parties, and what this means for college students and colleges in general. So let me start off this video by showing you a few incidents that have already occurred on college campuses or off college campuses. Let's start with East Carolina University, in which students decided it was a good idea to throw a party with over 400 people. Now, I don't claim to be an expert in infectious diseases. I'm just some kid who makes YouTube videos in my spare time, but I have a hard time believing that it's a good idea to throw this massive party during a global pandemic. Like, I feel like that's probably not allowed. I could be wrong, but I feel like they probably shouldn't be doing that. And the crazy thing about that is that party took place on opening weekend. Like, those students literally got back to campus, and before they could set up their dorms or get settled in, they're like, you know what? Instead of doing that, I'm just gonna go attend a massive rager. Now, on top of that party alone, University of Police said that they've had to shut down 20 other parties at or around the university. There's a video making the rounds at Villanova of a bunch of college students crowded around a tent with no social distancing or mask wearing or whatever. The president of Villanova said that they are going to take action against students who aren't abiding by the rules, so hopefully they actually follow through with that promise. Now let's look at a school like Notre Dame. My mom's alma mater. I have a lot of respect for that school. It's a pretty good school. I'm definitely not smart enough to get in there. It's a pretty well-respected university. Now, from what I can tell, the university has actually done a pretty good job of trying to get students back to campus. They seem to have all these protocols in place. They seem to be taking the whole thing pretty seriously. Well, since reopening, Notre Dame has seen a spike in cases. Out of 348 students tested, 8% of them had the coronavirus. Now, of course, some of these students were tested because they were suspected to have it, but 8% is still a very alarming number, especially considering that the World Health Organization says that you should be below 5% of positive cases before a college reopened. Now, health department officials say that the cases likely came from an off-campus party which had over hundreds of people. So you can have all these great rules in place on campus, but what's stopping students from going off campus and being irresponsible? My sister goes to Xavier University in Cincinnati, and recently they made the rounds because a photo published in the student newspaper showed a bunch of kids partying in someone's backyard off campus. Now, as you can see, they have the social thing going down, like they're doing that pretty well, but they're not doing the distancing thing. Like you're so close, you're halfway there. So as you have seen, these off-campus parties are kind of inevitable. If you're reopening campus and you're having students return to the classroom, you have to expect that they are going to do stuff like this. Students can say on a survey that they're gonna abide by all the rules, and the only reason they're saying that is because they want to go back to campus. They're willing to lie to go back to campus. This really shouldn't be a surprise. So what I see happening is you have all these off-campus parties, students are gonna go there, and then they could come back and potentially infect just regular people who are actually abiding by the rules, which is by definition selfish. Like, you're literally putting other people at risk just so you can have fun. And I think social media is going to play a huge role in putting an end to these parties, because what I've noticed is whenever there's a party, there's always going to be photos of it. Whether it be a concerned person taking a photo or someone who's at a party and thinks it's a good idea to take a photo of themselves, which is really funny if you think about it, because they're like, hey, this is me doing something wrong. I know I'm doing something wrong, but I'm going to post it on social media anyway. Just handcuff me now. So I'm not encouraging that you go partying, but I'm just saying, if you feel the need to party, maybe don't post it on social media. That's just an idea. I don't know. And I'm sure all schools are handling this differently, but it's going to be interesting to see how they handle people throwing parties. Are they going to punish the people who attended the party? Think about if you have a party which is attended by 300 people. Is the school going to track down and expel or punish all 300 of those people? I have a hard time believing believing that. So if you're a school, you have to find some way to hold people accountable for throwing parties. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty difficult, but you gotta find a way. Because unless there's some kind of punishment for people who do this, students are going to just keep doing it. And one possible solution, I think, is frequent testing. University of Illinois is requiring that its students get tested twice a week. This may seem like overkill to some, but I actually kind of get where they're coming from. Other schools like Marshall University are requiring that their students get tested before they even arrive to campus. And these initial testings are great, but I feel like these testings have to be somewhat frequent. A study in CNN determined that schools should be testing frequently if they want these things to stay afloat. So I feel like all colleges should have some policy where you require students to get tested, whether it be every week, every month, whatever. It's just some policy. Because if you're leaving it up to the hand of the students and you're just having them voluntarily go get tested, I know some of them just aren't gonna do it. Some of them may be asymptomatic and might not even know that they have the thing, and they might not think that they should even get tested. Some of them may know that they have it, but they don't want to get tested because if they get tested, they're gonna be required to quarantine, and they don't want to do that. I really think if you're leaving this up in the hands of the students, some of them are gonna just find a way to screw it up. Like, they're just not gonna get tested. And maybe if colleges require that their students get frequently tested, you would see a decrease in partying. Because students would be like, oh, well, if I go to this party, I could possibly get the virus and contribute to the overall number of cases. And if I contribute to the certain number of overall cases and we reach a certain threshold, the university will just shut down and I'll be sent home. Now, maybe that's wishful thinking. I think a lot of these kids are gonna throw parties anyway, if I'm being honest with you. But I feel like the only way that this thing can be under control is if you are actually doing frequent testing. And I'll tell you one thing that was really concerning when I was doing research for this whole video. I read a New York Times study that showed 6,600 coronavirus cases were linked to US colleges. And this study was done in late July. So none of these cases were even recorded when there were actually students, on campus for a regular fall semester. So if the numbers are like that when you don't even have like a lot of students on campus, imagine what it'll be like when you have a lot of students on campus. So as I said, you can have these great restrictions in place, these great kind of safety precautions you're taking in the classroom, but if you're not doing more than just that, it's not going to work out. You have to find a way to crack down on partying, which I know some people may think that's an unpopular opinion and they're thinking that I'm being a buzzkill. I kid you not, on social media the other day, I saw a post of someone at a party and I commented on the post saying, was this pre-pandemic? That's all I said. I was just saying, oh, well, was this taken like before the pandemic? And then someone responded to me saying, oh, didn't know you were the fun police. What? I'm not saying that people can't have fun, but what I am saying is that you probably shouldn't partake in things that are putting other people at risk. Trust me, you can have fun without going to some large party. I spent my first 2 years of college never going to a party, and I'd like to think that I turned out fine. For the most part. But responses like that boggle my mind because people are basically saying, you know what, I'd rather have fun than try to prioritize the health and well-being of others. So if you're a student who's returning to campus, please be responsible because if you're not, you could potentially ruin the whole thing for the rest of the people who are actually being responsible. Because honestly, what I see happening is there will be schools that will reopen, they'll see a spike in cases, and then they'll just shut the whole thing down. I really see that happening. Do I think that's going to happen with all schools? Not necessarily, but I certainly see that happening to some schools, and that's just going to be absolutely devastating. So please be responsible because you could potentially ruin this for everyone and also put other people at risk. So yeah, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already to help me hit my goal of 5,000 subscribers. And I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. Is your school returning to campus? Have you seen students partying? What do you think about this whole thing? Are you concerned? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.
Eric Moore and the golden child, we going up. How many subscribers, but enough, never enough. We can show you how to stomp, climb the ladder, so my vision to the heaven up above. Let me show you how to stack when I'm talking way back when. Flip the script and take the hate with a grain of sand.